Good morning.
Good morning.
How are we doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Welcome, folks. I'm going to give a minute or two to let more people pop on, but I didn't want to leave you all sitting in the waiting room. Hey, Margaret. Um,
So good to see you. I have
you
not stalked your
too.
house yet.
I
I'm
any
only
day
up in
now.
Spring Hill. I'm close.
I know it's not that far. It is not that far. I love it.
Yeah, I know.
Very, very cool. Hey, as you guys are popping on, there's no judgment and no
You're
pressure.
breaking
And
up.
if
Hang
you,
on. I think it's me now.
oh, okay. If you could be on camera, here's the deal. It's
Can
way more
anybody tell
fun.
me, am I breaking up?
You're breaking up a little bit for me. Can anybody confirm, am I good or is it
I can't hear you at all. I have to move.
She sounds good to me.
We can hear you just fine, all of you.
okay, perfect. Awesome. All right, cool deal. So what I was saying is that if we can be on camera, here's the deal. It's a lot more fun for me to talk to faces and I won't judge how you look. And if you're on camera, you are way more likely to participate at a high level and get some value out of your time. And I'm going to take a wild guess that you don't want to waste the next hour and you want some value. So that is my goal, is to bring that. And if we could be on camera, it would be super duper helpful. I'm going to jump in a second and I'm going to start sharing my screen. The class that I'm going to teach today, when I normally teach it in person, it's a 3 hour class. We're going to do it in an hour because I've had 3 hour Zooms before and they're a nightmare. And I bet you would agree that they're a nightmare. So it's normally a class that I treat as more of a workshop. And in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait till everybody's in here. I'm going to give you guys a handout, and the stuff that we would normally do in a room together, you're just going to do after the Zoom as homework. So that's how you would get the most value out of this day. So let me get my PowerPoint up here. Boo, boo, boo. There we go. All right. Somebody tell me, can you see my slide deck?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. And the fun fact about Zoom is when I'm sharing, I can't see you guys at all. So you can make faces at me if you want. And yeah, I can't. Yeah. So if I ask a question, go ahead and just answer it. I'm going to let people in as they come. All right. So the goal today is to talk about the 5 easiest, that's five, I can count, the 5 easiest ways for you guys to blow up your business this year. And the first thing I want to say is that I realize it's February 11th. We're already into the year. January 1st is only a magical day because we've assigned it magical abilities. So if you feel like you've started strong, awesome. If you feel like you've not started strong, we get to start today. And that is just fine. So as we get into it here, the 5 things that we're going to talk about today are, we need to make sure that we have sustainable lead generation. That first word is really important. It's got to make sense to you. It's got to be something that you can do more than once, more than a week, more than a month, right? So sustainable lead generation. We're going to talk about converting and closing. As somebody who has coached agents for the last 7 years and who has been an agent for 20 years, I think one of the biggest reasons we don't hit goals is often not actually the unwillingness or inability to lead generate. It's our lack of ability around conversion and closing. The third thing is to just become a ninja when it comes to objections. We're going to change the way that we look at objections as well. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. And the fourth thing is time blocking that actually matches our goals. Okay. We can have real cute, pretty time blocking. And if it doesn't actually match the goals that we have, it's not going to go anywhere. And then the last thing that we'll talk about today is actually using our business as a wealth maker. I can ask this in any room and I get the same answer. So I'm going to make some sweeping assumptions. Don't be mad. That most of us got into this business, if not all of us, on some level to build wealth, right? Like we wanted freedom and flexibility and we wanted to build wealth. And the reason that most real estate agents live paycheck to paycheck is that we've come from a life, from a field, from experience where we don't really understand wealth. And I want to give you guys some tangible starting points today so that you can get closer to the wealth that you probably so desire. And before we jump into the 5 things, I've got some questions here. And what I would challenge you to do is you can think about them in greater detail later if you wanted to, or if you wanted to throw some thoughts in the chat thread, I think that would be super great too. But I want you to look at these. Or excuse me, I don't have questions. Yeah, I do. Let me move my thing over so I'm not wondering what I'm looking at. So we're not going to win by being passive. Okay, we must be proactive, and I know that might not be breaking, but how many real estate agents do you know that you feel like by watching them, it just seems like they're waiting for business to fall in their lap, right? We can't do that. So here's what I'd love you to answer, and you can answer it for yourself, or you could throw this into the chat thread. What was your biggest win in 2025? Whether the year went how you wanted it to or not, what was your biggest win in 2025? And if we're going to answer that, because we always want to start with something good, something positive, where did you get the most stuck in 2025? Same deal. You can answer it for yourself, or you can throw it in the chat thread. And then the last question here is, and I really want you to think about this one. It's a powerful question if you answer it really honestly. If your business had to double in 2026, like there was some extenuating circumstance and like it had to double, it wasn't a want, it was a need. What would you absolutely need to change? All right, let me go look over here. Can that slide be bigger? I don't know how to make the slide bigger. I think that might be on your end, although, or am I not sharing?
The presenter view and not.
That's so cool. You know what? Technology is my favorite thing in the world. I love it so much. Let me stop share. And we're going to fix that. Thank you for saying something. That's fascinating. All right. Where is... Let's see if this works. Do you see the right thing now?
Much better.
Is it? Oh, that's so exciting. Okay. Whoever said that, 10 points to you. The points are good for nothing, and thank you anyways. So we got stuck with communication. All right, somebody got stuck with communication. That's a big one. Biggest win from 2025 was passing the exam and notifying your family and friends. Big deal. Starting to build your network, creating your own business. So we've got some good stuff in here. And again, if you want to look at these later, I'm going to wait a little bit more and then I will put this handout. Actually, I'll do it now. Why don't I just do that? I'm going to give you guys the handout for this so that you guys can kind of answer questions later, all of that stuff. That would be, oh, it'd be super fun if I could. All right, I'm going to do it when I'm not sharing screen. Just kidding. All right, so that's that. So let's get into the first thing. All right, sustainable lead generation. I think there's 2 major reasons that agents fail when it comes to lead generation. Okay, we have a lot of people who just aren't willing to lead generate. I'm sure none of you, but I bet you've had friends that are just refuse to lead generate. That's a big problem. But I think the other thing is so many people will lead generate, but we get bored so quickly, or we're so tied to instant results that we quit things too early, or we're going in too many different directions at the same time, and it's just not helpful. Okay, so there's some things to consider here. Your consistency is always going to be greater than intensity. So it's interesting. I do one-on-one coaching with agents. And a lot of times I have people come to me and their biggest issue, even though they're making a ton of money, is they're just not lead generating at all. They're not making any calls. It's wild and it happens, right? And for me, sometimes, and it feels so funny with the amount of money that they pay me, but I'm now working with these agents for the first few weeks that we're together to just have one conversation a day. Because as little as that might sound, one conversation a day for the rest of their career would be better than 100 conversations in 1 week and never picking up the phone alone again. So that consistency is always going to be something that is stronger than the intensity that you do something once or twice. Clarity is greater than busy. If you know me, if you were with me last year, I'm sure I've talked about this, right? We do this thing where we get so busy and we claim busy and we wear it like a badge of honor. And my running dad joke is that busy is a four-letter word for a reason. It's not great. The people who have the best success, the people who get to live the lives that a lot of us wish we would live, are the people that have clarity in what they need to do, and they just do that, and they don't get lost in the whole busy thing. Now, this is a big thing. This is where clarity comes in, right? You really should have three major pillars of lead generation. And unless you are running a giant business, like I'm talking about your MREA for sure, you've got a large team behind you, I really don't see the need to have more than three things. And my caveat is that that doesn't mean that you might not at the end of the year look back at your business and have some deals that came from something different than those three things. But what I'm talking about is where you actually focus consistent energy. You really need three things and no more than three things, because we could be great at three things. We could be experts and masters at three things. But what you're not going to do is be a master at everything. And I'm not questioning your awesome ability. I just realized that everybody on this Zoom is a human. Okay. And then the last thing is you want to make sure that you're choosing things that actually kind of align with who you are, your energy, your personality, your ideal client. The reality is that if you want to go master expired listings, but you're terrified to cold call, okay, well, then you probably shouldn't be working expired listings, and that's okay. It's not a bad thing. It's just we need to choose things that we can do many times over and over consistently. That's where the magic happens in this business. And so the next few slides, I'm not going to go over every last thing in detail because it would take the rest of our Zoom together. For a lot of you, this is not going to be new information. It's more of a reminder so we can kind of pare down and choose those three things that best serve us. Okay. That first one being Sphere and database. Now, I'm not here to police what your three pillars of lead generation are. And I will tell you that I think best practice is Sphere database should be one of them no matter what. The other two, pick whatever you want. It doesn't matter to me. But if you look at real estate historically, and not just within Keller Williams, within any company, it doesn't matter. The number one source of business, the number one most sustainable, most repeatable source of business is your Sphere and your database. And whether you're young or more experienced, whether you're new to the area or you've lived there all your life, it is always going to be your best bet. Now, within your Sphere and your database, there's a ton of different things that you can do, right? There's just talking to them. There's checking in with them. There are birthday and anniversary calls. There's home purchase anniversaries. Value updates for anybody in your database that is a homeowner, VIP events, neighborhood market reports, quarterly gift drops for the people that are really super loyal to you, handwritten notes, just because meetings of lunches and coffee, vendor programs where you have special pricing, special connections for them, just straight up asking for referrals. There's a ton of things you can do within that. And yet that one pillar, that is the only one that I believe after 20 years, no one's been able to change my mind. That should be one of your three. Okay. The next option, though, is community and local type things. Focuses on open houses, getting involved in the community and volunteering, hosting workshops for buyers and sellers, sponsoring sports teams or local schools. Networking groups is another thing. Chambers, stuff like that. Branded homeowner maintenance guides, community Facebook group participation, or you can create a group and start it from scratch, right? So there's two pillars, all right? We're going to keep going through because I've got quite a few of them. Social media and digital branding. Okay, social media is probably, like, in the 20 years that I've been in the business, gosh, this is the thing that has taken off the most. And if it's something you're interested in, it's a really great direction to go in because you can do so much with so little. All right. So you've got short form video, you've got more long form video on YouTube. You've got using Facebook and leveraging that personal content to connect with people who are like you. So you work with more enjoyable clients, right? We've If you've done this long enough, you've worked with somebody that you probably never wanted to see again. And you can use social media to find more people that you actually enjoy working with. Okay. You can also use business pages. There's things like Nextdoor, Reddit, engaging there. There are email newsletters that you can create that you can build a business through in a digital way. Podcasts, community interviews, going to local businesses, Google business reviews, using ads to retarget people and kind of funnel people in online. You've got blogging, you've got lead magnets like, hey, get your value here. Here's my guide to maintenance for your home, stuff like that, right? So you have the social media digital aspect. Then you've got active prospecting. This is the old school stuff that really still works. It's just that a lot of people don't want to do it. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that. So that can include your database if you're really aggressive in your calling. And yet FSBOs and expireds, circle prospecting around listings and buyer needs, door knocking, reaching out to investors, reaching out to renters and helping them learn how to buy, specializing in probate or estate, stuff like that, divorce attorney partnerships, financial planner partnerships, right? There's ways for you to get out there. If you are the type of person that was blessed with the willingness and the ability to pound the phones like that, it can be a great way for you to get yourself out there because so many agents aren't willing to do that stuff and it still works. The classics are classics for a reason. You have farming and or mail marketing, right? You can look at geographic farms. You can use postcard campaigns. You can do market updates to specific neighborhoods. You can do home value reports that are QR code driven, just listed, just sold postcards. There's an agent that I started in the business with many, many years ago in California. Her name is Elizabeth Doe. She is still with the company and she is a huge, huge producer. And I'm sure she's added some things over time, but what I can tell you is that she built her very, very 7 and 8 figure producing business off of a very simple process where every time she got a listing, she would send out, and I don't remember her number, and yet you could choose your own, but there was a certain number, like I'm just going to use 500 because it's easy. She would send out 500 just listed postcards to the surrounding homes. Then when it went under contract, she would send 500 to the same homes that said under contract. Then when it closed, she would send out a just sold to the same homes. Then 30 days later, she would send another just sold out. And then after 6 months, she would send another just sold out, all to the same 500 homes or whatever number that you pick. And that one thing is what allowed her to build an MREA business in a really short amount of time. Using door hangers, using something like hyper local niche marketing, right? Like, what if you really loved animals and you wanted to go off of pet lovers, right? You could create, you could be the dog park realtor. You could focus on restaurant reviews. Like, you could totally go in and niche yourself and work that way. And then you have the idea of sending seasonal mailers out too. I live down in Florida. We don't have real seasons. You do. And you could have a marketing campaign that was all around, well, winter is coming. Here's what you got to make sure that you do for your home. And if you need contacts for any of these, I'm your person. Okay. Then you have event-based lead generation, home buyer seminars of all different types, seller seminars of all different types, investor-driven seminars. That could be a big deal, workshops like that. Home maintenance classes, especially if you've got a lot of first-time buyers in your repertoire, right? Client appreciation parties are huge. Holiday family photo events, giveaway events, where if you're not super social, but you like the idea of an event, great way for you to get yourself out there and still make people feel special. And you could have booths at local events like farmer markets, home expos, wedding expos, things like that, okay? There we go. Last slide on this one is then you've got just niches in general, right? Niches, whatever, right? You could specialize in relocation. Okay. I know you guys are a big city, a big area. You probably have a lot of relocation activity. That could be what you specialized in. You could specialize in military, veteran, teachers. I mean, think about the things that there are special programs for teachers, first responders, healthcare workers. You could specialize in short-term rental investors. You could specialize in helping seniors who are downsizing and or moving into assisted living, right? You could be a divorce specialist or an estate planning specialist. You could create partnerships with new construction. You could be the person who helps find land or helps people flip properties. You could help renters become first-time buyers. So there's all sorts of different opportunities there. And then the last one I have for you is I just call it value first, right? So it's funnels, right? Landing pages for free CMAs, free home valuations, right? Landing pages for buyer and seller guides. What's my house worth ads? Market shift updates, predictions, neighborhood video showcases. I know a lot of agents who have built huge businesses through just creating video content around different neighborhoods that they serve, getting them out there on YouTube and allowing them to kind of bloom over time. Financing programs. There's all sorts of unique and interesting financing programs, some of which are probably local to you guys. And it's a great way for you to kind of pick up buyer leads. You could have a weekly hot deals list. I knew an agent in California that had a huge business just off a weekly list of the best deals in the area that she sent out to a really large number of people. Off-market opportunities if you're well connected in the world of investors. So those are all the major pillars. And this is where, like I said, if this was an in-person class and we had more time, I would have you do it now. And yet I'm going to stop sharing in a minute so that I can share my handout with you guys. This is something you guys can do after this for homework. Pick your 3 pillars. Now, if you're already locked in and you know exactly what your 3 pillars are and you're good, awesome. But if you don't, or if you think you have too many or too few, pick 3 pillars. Then within those pillars, like some of these, there's endless options. You're not going to do everything. What are the 3, 4, 5 action type things within those lead gen pillars that you're going to focus in on, that you can do on a repeated basis? What's the cadence around that? Things have to be repeatable, right? We have to do them more than once. And then what tools are you going to need? You might not need any. You might have everything that you need already, and yet there is a decent chance that you will need certain tools, okay? And then what needs to go in your calendar today or whenever you do this, if it's tomorrow, to get started? Is it locking in on a time block? Is it ordering the tools that you need? Is it reaching out to somebody who has done the XYZ that you're looking to do? It's really important that we always line up that first domino and that we do that one thing initially to get the ball rolling when we're going somewhere new. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second because what I want to do is I want to give you guys the handout. Which it does not want me to do, which is super exciting. So technology is my friend. So here's what I'm going to do. All of you that are on here, you had to register. I have your email. I will send out the handout for this so that you can go through and that you can answer the questions and go back through these pillars and all that. I don't know why the one thing that Zoom won't let me do is attach a file from my computer. So fun times. I'm not going to figure it out on your time. I will send out the handout to you. So, all right. I am going to jump back in. And if you came on a little late, just so you know, this class is normally in person and it's 3 hours. So if you think I'm moving fast, I am. That's why I'm going to send you the handout. And my goal is to get through this. And then at the end, I will answer any and all questions that you guys have. So let me come back and get my slideshow going again. And I know it's showing the wrong thing, so let me get back to the big slide. There we go. All right, cool deal. Okay, so Next up, let's talk about converting and closing. I really do think this is one of the biggest misses. It's when I dig in with somebody who is struggling in their business, it's one of the first things that I find out is going on. And some things to keep in mind. People don't, I mean, people literally buy homes. You don't need to argue on that, but people don't buy homes as much as they buy outcomes and certainty. Like they want to be led. They want to know that you can help them, that you can serve them. They don't hire real estate agents just to sell. Sellers don't do that. They hire a partner and they hire a leader. You know, the reality is that we live in a time where people can buy and sell real estate without your help. Like they can. And yet the reason they continue to hire real estate agents is that they want that partner. Just like kids desire structure, but they won't tell you, consumers desire to be closed and led, but they won't tell you that. Like no seller is going to say, close me, but also what seller really wants to hire you to represent them on the sale of what's likely their biggest asset if you're not even confident enough to ask for the sale, right? And the formula that you follow in order to convert and close really easily and really smoothly is you ask questions, you listen to their answers, you clarify because sometimes what we hear is not what they meant, or the way that we hear it is not how they meant it. You then confirm, okay, I've got it right, right? Great. That's why we should meet. You jump into the close. So it's ask, listen, clarify, confirm, and then close. If you can burn that into your brain and communicate that way when you're dealing with any type of lead, it's going to help you change your conversion rate big time. Another great way to make sure that you close really well is to use like micro closes is what I'm going to call them, where you say things like, gosh, it's a big decision that you're going to make today to hire me to sell your home at the beginning of a presentation. Most people hire me because my clients love that when you say things like that and put little closes in there, when it's time for you to do the big close, it really, really becomes easier and easier. So the biggest keys to closing for the appointment and things that you're going to want to live by in this sales business that we have found ourselves in is, first of all, you want to go for no. No is fine. Most people are not going to say yes the first time you ask it, so you've got to ask it more than once. My rule of thumb is you ask 5 times. Now, that doesn't mean you ask 5 times in a row without saying anything differently, like you're attacking them, but you ask, listen, clarify, confirm, and close. And if it doesn't work out, you start that process over and close again at the end, right? The idea is we don't want to jump off the phone or usher people out of the open house or whatever it is that you're doing after one ask. Oftentimes, think about how many times you have done something and you had to be asked more than once, okay? Don't give them everything up front. Don't be totally closed, but don't give away the milk for free. You know, there's some things that you should never be talking about unless you're in the appointment. You don't talk about the commission. You don't talk about the price, right? You use that as leverage. You know what? That is a great question. And that's the first thing that we'll talk about when we meet. So, what would be better? And then you close. Take the pressure off. You know, I run a big business and I run my business. I work by referral. There's very little I do that isn't some sort of referral. Okay. And in that, the reason I say that is I want you guys to know that like you don't have to, I want you to pre-qualify every appointment. If you took Bold with me, you've heard that. If you take it again, you'll hear it again because it's important. But what I don't intend for you to do is only meet with people that are ready to sign immediately. That doesn't serve your growth in the business. If I have a past client that wants to sell in 6 months but wants to know what to do to get their home ready, I'm still going to meet with them. And if they give me pushback, like, oh gosh, but I'm not ready yet, great. Me either. It's cool. Like this doesn't need to be about listing your home, but I want to make sure that you are fully educated and that you make the best decision. We don't need to tell people that they're going to have to sign here, press hard, right? Like we just need to get in the door. And then the other big thing is that you got to have a value proposition and you got to be able to present it with confidence. What I would say is that most agents that have been selling for even a short amount of time, you probably have and you're living a value proposition. And I think where the rub becomes is that we don't always know how to present it, how to share it, how to say it. Okay. And I will give you mine as an example because it's really not that impressive. And yet for 20 years, it served me wildly well. And when I'm attempting to communicate to a seller or a buyer that I am the best for the job, even though they might know 20 other real estate agents, all I say is, you know what? I am the most honest agent that you could possibly hire. I am going to tell you everything you need to know. I'm not going to hold anything back, and I'm not going to filter anything. And because of that, every once in a while, you might not like things that I have to say, but it's my job to give you all the pertinent information that you need. So there's nobody you can hire that's more honest than me. It's not amazing. It's not poetic. It's not groundbreaking. But the reason it works is that nobody wants a liar. And so it's a really easy way for me to stand out without really saying anything that's super wild or poetic. And so for homework, when I send you this handout, since Zoom is being rude today, what you're going to do is you're going to write out your value proposition, and you should be able to communicate it in 30 seconds or less. It should be very, very elevator speech. I'm going to want you to write down 3 confidence creating affirmations. If we're not great at closing and converting, it is very likely that it's because we get a little nervous when we have to do that. And one of the best ways to get out of those nerves is to psych yourself up when you know you're going to be in a situation where you're working to convert and either set appointments or close at an appointment. If you want to use an affirmation and have it really work for you, and by the way, any of you who are like, oh, affirmations are stupid, that is by default an affirmation. So we use them all the time. And I want to challenge you to use them for the betterment of yourself and your business. There are 4 P's to a great affirmation. And this you may want to write down simply because it's not in the handout. A great affirmation that will actually change the way that you think and the way that you act is going to be positive. It is going to be spoken in the present tense. It's going to be powerful. In other words, like it shouldn't be like weak or vague. And it's going to be purposeful. Like it helps if it's something that is specific, I would say. So again, those 4 P's are positive, present tense, powerful, and purposeful. The next thing I'd ask you to do is to create 5 powerful conversion or closing questions. Questions get us what we want. Selling isn't telling, it is asking. And if we know that a lot of times we're going to have to ask 5 times to get what we want, we should have 5 different questions that just kind of live inside the back of our brain that we can pull out at any given time in order to get ourselves to our desired outcome. And then I would challenge you to pick another agent or pick somebody in your own home. It doesn't really matter, but pick somebody to role play those questions with so that you get comfortable asking them and comfortable dealing with whatever answers come from them. All right, so that's that. Next thing is objections. I want us to look at them differently, first of all, because what you got to understand is that objections are a sign that they want to work with you, but they have got either questions or they didn't understand something. I think we tend as agents, and myself for many years, I'd get an objection and I was like, oh crap, I'm screwed, right? But the truth is, what happens, you either get a yes, you get an objection, or you get shown the door. So we got to learn that an objection means, hey, I still like you, I'm still interested, I have questions, but they don't say it that way. Okay. For some of us, we get the same objections over and over, almost on repeat. If you can think of objections either in your seller or buyer side that you get in almost every presentation that you have, I challenge you to get them into your presentation. Make it something that you address in your presentation so that it's a non-issue when it's time for you to get contract signed. Now, the most common objections on the listing side are up there. The most common ones on the buyer side are up there. And rather than read them, they are the next slide. So I'm just going to go to the next slide. Okay. So you've got the other agents said that they would do it for less. Well, don't we love that so much? Now, part of the homework that I'm going to give you is to make these your own, but I wanted to at least give you one version of each objection and how you could handle it and get the yes every time. So if the other agent said they would do it for less, what I say is I completely understand why that would be attractive to you. And, it sounds like, sorry, I can't even read my own screen. And it sounds like you are looking to net the most money as possible, right? Great. Well, here's what concerns me. One of the biggest jobs for the agent you hire is to negotiate for you. And that other agent was easily willing to negotiate their own money away. So, how well do you expect them to protect your money when they couldn't protect their own? Now, the key is when you give an objection handler, especially if it ends in a question, you're not allowed to say anything else until they do. The first person who speaks is usually the one that loses, so we want them to speak first. Now, sometimes they just want you to do it for less, even if they haven't talked to another agent. Could you do it for less than whatever it is, right? You know what? I totally appreciate you asking, and I can't do it for less. Are there any other questions I can answer? I'm telling you right now, as somebody who has consistently taken hundreds of listings every year for a very long time, that is usually enough. We live in a world where we are conditioned to ask for a discount. It's not right, it's not wrong, it's what people do. And so a lot of times it is easy enough to just politely say no and move on to, are there any other questions? This is one of my favorites because it's just fascinating. The other agent said they could sell it for more money. Great. Well, here's what you say. I can totally understand how attractive that sounds. Now, my question is, will the agent guarantee that in writing, or are they planning to buy the home themselves? I ask because the value of a home is determined by a buyer, and buyers are going to look at the same data that we've looked at. Now, a lot of agents say things like this to get the contract signed, and then they rely on your motivation to sell in order to get you to reduce your price later. I just choose to be honest up front, even when you may not love it. So there's that one. Get you to the next slide. All right. We have to think about it. Well, I get it. It's a huge decision. And normally, when someone says this to me, they've got some unanswered questions or they didn't fully understand something that we spoke about. What questions can I answer or clarify to help you in your thinking? Now, if they give you something, address it and then get right back to closing. If they're still hung up on they need to think about it, they need to chat about it, this sounds very cheeky, and I guess in fairness it is very cheeky, but I have done this so many times and it has worked in my favor way more times than it hasn't. I will literally grab my phone and start walking towards their door as I am saying, perfect, I'm going to return a couple of phone calls while you guys chat. Just come grab me when you're done. You leave your stuff, they have to come get you at some point. And if you ask for permission first, they're going to say, no, we need to sleep on it. If I get on my feet and start walking, they don't have time to do that. And it might sound aggressive. Oftentimes I get weird feedback around this one, but you got to understand the minute you leave someone's home, your chances that they're going to list with you is going down, period. And so I know that I'm not going to win everything. So if I'm going down with a fight. That's kind of the way that I look at things. All right. We have other agents to interview. You know what? I totally appreciate that. Let me ask you, other than having other interviews lined up, do you feel that I can successfully sell your home? They are very highly likely to say yes to you at this point, because otherwise they would have said, you know what? Thank you so much for your time. Okay. So assuming that they say yes. So what I'm hearing is you want to be polite and you want to meet these other agents, even though you know that I can handle the job. And, that's great. But while you're waiting to be polite, you're going to be losing marketing time and potentially a great buyer. Why don't we instead save you time and save the other agents time by getting going today? And look, if you're not comfortable calling the other agents and canceling the appointments, I'm happy to do it for you. And I will do it right in front of you so that you know that I was kind, polite, and professional. Guys, it works, and if you've ever made the call before, it's super fun. Okay. Last few on the seller side. We're waiting for, or excuse me, this is the buyer side, I should say. We're waiting for rates to come down. Now, look, that is a loaded thing, and if you've done this long enough, you know that it is so rarely ever actually about the rates. So what I say is I totally understand that, and I'm all about you saving money. Now, here's the challenge. While mortgages can be refinances, prices paid will never change. So do me a favor just for a moment. Pretend the rates aren't a factor. Would it be better for you to buy now or wait indefinitely? We want to get them off of this rate thing that they're really probably focused on because that's what media is talking about. And we want to figure out if it's time for them to buy or not. Okay. We're waiting for prices to come down. I get that. And most people want to pay as little as possible for a home. But that said, where you live has way more to consider than purchase price paid. And on top of that, timing the market can be tricky. You never know when the prices are lowest until the prices have passed you by. So what I would love to know is that other than lowering prices, is there anything else stopping you from buying now? The whole idea here is we want to figure out if there's other issues, because if there's just this one thing, we can probably use logic to get out of it. We don't want to sign anything. We live in a world now where we're told we have to sign agreements. And for the record, I don't think whether it was legal or not, you probably shouldn't be working with a buyer without agreement because they take so much time. I don't think there's a perfect script for this. I think this is something where you have got to ask more questions, find out what their real concerns are, because I'm telling you right now, their concern is not writing on a piece of paper. They've been burned, or someone else has been burned, or they don't understand how the compensation works. So this is where we've got to slow down, find out the real concern, address it, and get right back to that buyer broker agreement. Okay. So for homework on this, what I want you to do when you get this paperwork is come up with your number one objection that you receive and or struggle with on the listing side and on the buyer side. And I want you to come up with, whether you use a version of this, whether you craft something on your own, or whether you use AI to come up with something, I want you to come up with a great objection handler for each of those two objections. And then I want you to practice it so you can actually get comfortable with this. Like I remember being terrified of objections. And at a certain point in my career, objections became my favorite part because it made it interesting and it made it fun, right? And then once you've got those objection handlers down, you got to practice with somebody. It's probably best to practice with another agent. And yet in a pinch, your spouse, your kid, your parent, it doesn't really matter. We got to practice. If we're going to be great at something, we've got to practice it. Okay. Next thing we want to talk about is time blocking that actually matches your goals. Now, there's some things on here that I want you to consider. The first is that time is a feeling first, and it's a tracking mechanism second. Time is the only bank account that you never know your balance of, and it can never be replenished. You can replenish money. You can't replenish time. And the great news is those are a little deep, and yet time is the only place where we are on an even playing field, each and every one of us. So when we learn how to manage our time well, everything gets great. Now, the work-life balance is not a real thing. What we're really looking to create is counterbalance. That is the goal here. And the idea is that we don't get too far out of whack. Now, there's some ways that we do that. The first thing is that if you're somebody who uses a list, we got to move from having a to-do list to having a success list. To-do lists are full of some good stuff and a lot of menial stuff. And most people who use lists, what we love is we love that feeling of crossing something off the list and making it done, which means we do the easiest stuff first that has no real impact, and it leads to kind of not hitting our goals. When you create a list, I just want you to do it differently. I want you to write everything down, and then I want you to separate things into categories. What are things you could do versus what you should do? The could do might be go get the groceries, pick up the dry cleaning, things like that, right? Things that probably, if they don't happen that day, are not a big deal, right? Design the flyer, stuff like that. What should I do? Well, I know I should lead generate. I should follow up. I should work out. I should make sure that I go on this appointment. I should make sure that I attend the class. Like, what are the things that are more important, that are going to have more impact on your business and on your life? And then once you have that list, I want you to identify what is the one thing that you must do, because life happens. And if you get the most important thing done first, even if nothing else happens, you got the most important thing done. Now, in a perfect world, you have your must do, your should do, you could do. You do the must, then you do the should. And if you get through all of that and you have time and bandwidth and energy left, then go to town on the could do's, go to town on the little things, right? But we can't lead with them. When you master time blocking, you will live a life by design. If you are looking at how to time block and it's something you struggle with, not every moment should be filled. There should actually be a ton of white space, okay? Time blocking really isn't a constraint. To me, time blocking is freedom. When I know what I'm supposed to do and when I'm supposed to do it and why I'm supposed to do it, like it only makes it into my time block for good reason, I don't have to wonder if I'm doing the right thing at any given time. And one of the best ways to change the way that you look at your time is to do an audit of your time. And if you've ever had like a food journal, it's very similar to that, but for your time. And what I would challenge you to do is for a week, write down or type down everything that you do and how long you did it. And even the most efficient of us are going to identify that we waste a ton of time. And the great news is that at first it's a gut punch, but then it's a beautiful look into reality. And when you actually realize how much of your time you're wasting, it becomes way more difficult to do it any longer. And on a personal note, I'm just going to tell you, like, I take downtime, I take zone out time, I play dumb games on my phone. I am not productive every minute of the day, but I am far more productive because I keep myself aware of when I'm doing the right things and when I'm doing the not so right things. Okay. How to properly set up your calendar and time block. Okay. Only the most important things should be going in your time block, in your calendar in advance. Only the most important things. In your business, that is stuff like lead generation and lead follow up, role play, growth activities, learning activities, things like that. That is the most important stuff. That should be there in advance. Nothing else really needs to go in there in advance. You can fill the white space as you need it. In your life, the most important things tend to be things like time off, vacations, date nights, fitness goals, fitness activities, family activities, things like that. Those should be in your calendar and in your time block, and those things should be sacred and they don't get moved. And all of the other stuff gets built around those things. That's going to leave you white space for all the other life to go, for the appointments and the other classes and the building of the flyer if you don't have leverage. It goes outside of those important activities. One thing that has changed everything for me, as you know, for those of you that don't know a lot about me, I run multiple businesses. I'm also married with 6 children. I live a very busy, very big life. And I don't work more than 40 hours a week, like at a religiously committed level. Like I will not do it. And the way that I can do that is that a couple of things. First of all, everything's an appointment. No real estate clients, with respect, no coaching clients need to know every detail of what I'm doing. So rather than saying that I can't meet with somebody or call somebody because I'm at my kid's football practice, what I'm going to tell them is, you know what, I have an appointment at that time. So what about this or this for us to chat, for us to meet? I'm going to take the day off. I'm not going to tell them I'm taking the day off. You know what? I'm all tied up with appointments that day. So what if we did this day at this time or this day at this time? Everything is an appointment. Stop telling people everything you're doing, because even your friends, when they're working with you as a client, as sad as it might feel, they don't care as much. So we got to take that away and we got to make it all an appointment. The other thing that's changed everything for me is using a filter. The way that I decide what I will and what I won't do is by asking myself, will this bring me money and or wealth? And will this bring me joy? If it's not going to fit into that category, then it's not something that I need to do. And it's made someone who is naturally a very much a yes person, it's made it far easier for me to say no to the right things so that I can say yes to more of the right things. So it's changed everything for me. Now, your filter might be different, but it's really easy to just ask yourself, will this fit into my priorities, whatever that looks like for you? And within your time blocking, anything on the important side that you ever might have to erase because big life happened, great. You got to replace it. You can't just get rid of it. We can't just not lead generate. We can't just not go to our doctor appointment. We need to take the important things and we need to move them. So what I want for you guys to work on when I send you the material is I want you to answer this question for yourselves. And I want you to be honest because you're the only one that's ever going to see it. When you look at your goals, does your schedule look like that of somebody who would achieve those goals? You know, here's the deal. If you want to make $1 million, but your schedule looks like somebody who makes $50,000, you're not going to make $1 million. So we got to just get real and see if everything is in congruence, right? If there's some off stuff, what do we need to add? What do we need to subtract? What do we need to adjust? Just it's really not that difficult. We just need to be real with ourselves. And what I would challenge you to do is that within the next 24 hours, schedule some time for you to sit down with your calendar, whatever type of calendar it is that you use, and jump in there and make those changes and take control of the way that you manage your time, because no one's going to give it back to you. It's super important. Last section is using your business as a wealth maker rather than a bill payer. We talked about this earlier. We get into this business because we want wealth, freedom, and flexibility, and then we miss the wealth because we are so focused on our versions of freedom and flexibility. But I want you to understand that wealth is a mindset first and a financial reality later. It is the reason that 70% of lottery winners end up completely broke within the first 5 years of winning multi-millions of dollars, because they don't have the mindset of someone who is a millionaire or who is a wealthy person. Habits have more to do with your wealth than your income does. That's why you've met millionaires that did so off of a teacher's salary, right? Income pays bills, but wealth builds a lifestyle. And there is no perfect time to start building wealth other than right now. It is never too late. That is not true. These next couple of slides come from the MREI, which is the real estate investor, the millionaire real estate investor, rather than the millionaire real estate agent. We tend to tell ourselves these myths, and they're just not true. I don't need to be an investor. My job's going to take care of my financial wealth. Well, it's not true. I've never met anybody that's true for. You do need to be an investor on some level, right? I don't need or want to be financially wealthy. I'm happy with what I have. It is beautiful to be happy with what you have, but we can't be blind to the fact that you do need and want to be financially wealthy. There's no other better security in your life, right? It doesn't matter if I need or I want to be wealthy, I just can't do it. Well, how could you really predict what you're capable of until you've really tried and gone all in? There are 5 other myths, all the clicking. There we go. Investing is complicated. Well, investing is only as complicated as we make it. The best investments require knowledge that most people don't have. Well, your best investments were always going to be in areas that you can or you already understand. Now, fun fact, the number one wealth in our country is real estate, and you're a real estate agent. So there's a message there. Investing is risky and I'll lose my money. Well, by definition, investment isn't risky. That's gambling. Investing is not gambling. If I look at my worst investments over the years, yeah, they weren't what I wanted them to be, but I still came out on top. Successful investors are able to time the market. In successful investing, the timing finds you, and all the good investments are taken. Every market has its share of good investments. Well, that's just, yeah. I have seen people at the worst interest rate at the height of the market still find cash flowing properties and other types of investments. Now, here's the good stuff. I didn't get into building wealth as early as I should have because I just didn't know where to start, which of course is that lie that we tell ourselves. So now you can't tell yourself anymore because I'm giving you a bunch of places where you can start. One of your biggest tools to build wealth is to have an exceptional CPA, not an okay one, an exceptional one, somebody that treats it like a partnership and helps you keep more of the money that you earn. You should have either an LLC or an S Corp. You should be an entity so that you can get the tax benefits of being a business. Having a budget or an allocations form. I know that the idea of budget is very unfun and very unsexy, and so is being broke, right? So getting in understanding with having a budget is huge. Creating a net worth tracker and updating it at least monthly, if not quarterly, right? Or at least quarterly, if not monthly. And there's a million free net worth trackers that you can find online. You don't have to go take a class for this. You can figure it out through the joys of Google and or AI. You should have multiple accounts. You should not have all of your money going into one account or you'll never save a day in your life. Trust me, I've lived on the wrong side of that. You should have a business account that you operate out of, a personal account that you pay your bills through, a reserve account that you don't touch that is for the oh-ohs of life, because we're in a business that's unpredictable. You should have an account for tax money and you should have an account for investment opportunities, right? You might have more than that. I personally, I'll tell you right now, I can spend money with the best of them. And I've had to really curb that over the years to go from somebody who lives paycheck to paycheck to somebody who's got some wealth to their name. But I still like spending money. So I have an account that's just for fun. That's literally what I consider it. And when I want to do something that doesn't make a lot of sense, that costs money, if there's money in that account to cover it, I get to do it. And if there's not money in that account, I don't get to do it, right? So it doesn't need to be just 4 or 5. You could have as many as you wanted. When you receive a paycheck, the biggest thing that got me from somebody who was buried in debt to somebody who got to live debt free was to separate my money and stop spending all of it. And you can start small with this. I encourage you to start somewhere, but put some into your personal and some into your tax and some into your operating. Like, I'm so committed to this that sometimes I'll get a check that's for a small amount, $20, $50. I still split it by the system that I've created because it's so much more about the habit than the amount of money. Start a health savings account, right? So that you can take care of yourself. Meet with a financial planner to set up some sort of retirement plan because otherwise we don't get it. Set up life insurance. Goodness, especially if you're younger, set up life insurance. Meet with an attorney so that you have either a will or, in a perfect world, a trust, because there's benefits to that financially, not just to the people when you pass, right? And make sure that you have some sort of health insurance. And do not get me wrong, I know that right now having health insurance is insanely expensive. It is so much better than being dead though, or being millions of dollars in debt. So those are the areas that you want to start. That can be overwhelming if you're looking at it and you're thinking, I've done nothing. So the last little chunk of homework, and I'll stop sharing my screen in a moment, is to pick 3 items from that slide that you know you need to take action on, and just get into action on them. It doesn't need to be perfect, get it moving. And then I would love for all of you to write a wealth statement for the year. Don't overthink that. By the end of this year, what will your wealth look like? Don't measure it by other people, measure it by you and your desires and your goals and where you're starting from. All right. You guys have been fantastic because I've been moving on the fast side. So here's what I want to do. I am going to copy and paste something while I give you guys a second to let me know if there are any questions on your end that I can answer. And you don't need to raise your hand, just talk, because I know I went through a lot.
Hi, good morning, Hudson, and thank you for this class. I just had a follow-up question based off of the wealth statement.
Yes.
Can you give us an example of what that looks like? Like what would a wealth statement look like?
So by the end, yeah, I mean, by the end of 2026, I will, my net worth will be whatever. I will have this much money in a savings account. I will be fully insured. I will, like, literally, you could probably base it off whatever the things are that you pick off of that list. Like, it doesn't need to be like beautiful or like, just what is it that you would like to commit to in 2026. And I always challenge people on any type of goal. You should stretch yourself, but don't stretch yourself so hard that there's no way it's ever going to happen, because that's what just leads to disappointment. But yeah, it doesn't need to be, it only needs to make sense to you. So it could be a statement, or it could just be a list that you keep somewhere that you can check in with. Like, it just needs to make sense to you. What I put in the comments here is, so I am coming next week. We are launching a Bold with your 3 market centers. And I've put the dates and the times in there. I've put the location and how you can register. And if any of you are on the fence, or even you're a hard no, I want to challenge you to just come to the first step. I say this with care. I really, really do. I can't think of a better place for you to be that day unless you have a vacation planned or something like that, because I can assure you, you will leave with leads that you didn't have, and you're going to lead with information you didn't have. You'll be in a better mindset, and you're going to get lunch for free. Like, it's a pretty easy yes to that day. And for those of you who were in Bold last year, what I've heard from leadership, if I'm just going to call it out and be real, is I've heard that a lot of people are saying, well, I just did it last year. I don't know that I need to do it again. And my question to you, and you don't have to answer, I just want you to think, right? And I ask with respect, I'm an agent still. I am you, right? Are you the same person, the exact same person that you were a year ago? I know the answer is probably no. So fun fact, you will hear things differently. And the average learner, this is a Harvard study, I've heard they're smart there. The average learner retains only 10% of any class they attend, of any book that they read. So if your only reason for not joining us, whether it's for First Step or the entire class, is that you were there last year, I get it. And it might not be the smartest decision for you to make. Somebody commented. Is it? Yeah. So you know, you can, if you're asking about bold, you can still take it as an like if you're in the process of getting your license. And in fact, I've had quite a few people do that, and it kind of sets you up for success because you can still do a lot of lead generation activities. There are certain things you can't say without a license, but you can still let people know what you're doing and that you're getting your license. And you can kind of build a bunker of leads so that when you get that license, you can jump right in. So thank you for that question. Are there any other questions about anything we talked about today or about anything with Bold?
As someone who has taken bold, I don't know, 10 or 11, I can't keep up times. I just want to tell people like that person starting out and the others that bold with Hudson is a unique experience and you don't want to miss it.
I will take that. I appreciate that. I'll take unique
Yeah.
every day. I don't want to be just like everybody else. Here's
You
what I
are-
will promise you. If you choose to join us, whether for just the first day or the rest of the class, I'm telling you right now, you will find value. You have my word. And if I screw up, you can come and lay into me at the end of the class. I'll take it. You will get value. I am not perfect and I don't know everything. My passion for helping agents is a 10 out of 10 though. And I will stand with you and I will help you fight to get your unfair share. I saw the question. I have recorded this. So when I send out the handout, I will also send out the recording of this meeting so that you guys can watch it back for anything. Because again, I acknowledge I moved fast because I thought a 3-hour Zoom would make you all want to peel your eyeballs out. So I will send the attachment. I will send the recording. And then real quick, I'm going to throw my phone number in here. If any of you have questions around Bold or around this and you just kind of didn't want to ask in public forum, I totally get it. Shoot me a text and we'll arrange a time to chat. And I would love to help you guys regardless of whether you're coming to Bold or not. Okay? Have a beautiful rest of your day. It was wonderful to see you guys and meet some of you. And I will see you in a week.
Thank you,
Bye.
Hudson.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.